One of the reasons that Japanese earthen architecture gets overlooked is because there's a seamless continuum between the clay and lime walls and the wooden beams and posts. In other words, no voids. Voids and cracks at edges and corners are a common bane of the natural builder. I'm sorry I can't be there in person. I wanted to do a workshop for this, and there are many of you I would have loved to see again, and I'm so inspired by all your work. My dear doggy companion of 10 years is near death and has made it impossible for me to attend the conference. I'm missing being with you all, but my Acha needs me. Back to business. The sandy bevel is the most basic way to prevent voids between wood and clay in Japan. It's sometimes used in combination with other techniques, particularly with very thin earthen walls, like for a tea house. It does the job of preventing voids quite well on its own, however, and is a great, easy tool for the quiver. As you can see here, it can be used around electrical outlets as well. On a recent job site, I was reminded of the compression technique. This is a way to avoid the voids by compressing the edges of the shape coat. The shape coat is what Rebecca Tasker calls the coat between the straw bale building's base coat and the finish coat. I like this sensible term. This shape coat gets rather thick in places, and the edges are no exception. These edges butt up against the grounds and the post, and sometimes against adjacent clay walls. Each day after plastering and the following day or two, time would be spent going around to all of the edges to compress them. The compression must be done with attention and care the first time, or you may cause a nasty ridge to form between the compressed bevel and the intended wall surface. Yet, as you can tell in this photo, even with compression, the materials still separate. This void here is tiny, but it's still a void, and it appeared again even after compressing twice. This is what prompted me to remember the simple, beautiful sandy bevel trick. So I did a test on a small corner that butts against a post and a top ground, wetting it down first. I made sure to fill the voids already present with the sandy mix. You can see these voids as deep black lines by the wood on the far left photo. This is an important step to keep the integrity of the material. I used the sandy bevel to eyeball a straight line for the finish level. I also made sure I created a valley at the corner to make the next plastering step easier. Can you see it? It's a standard Japanese maneuver. The test was successful. 2 days later, when we were ready to plaster the wall, the bevel was completely dry with no voids along the adjacent materials. It was easier to plaster up to the edges because I didn't have to think about making a straight line. It was already there. I wasn't present when this wall was completely dry. It would have been interesting to show a photo of the juncture where the sandy bevel ended and where the compression step would have to take place. Was there suddenly a void between the clay plaster and the post, 2 feet down from the top of the wall? My guess would be yes. This sandy bevel material is made from a healthy dose of sand added to the mix that you use for the shape coat or brown coat. By adding sand, you're essentially creating a plaster that's highly unlikely to budge while drying. I learned the consistency by feel. I wish I could pass a ball of the material around, but I wasn't quick enough to recognize what was happening in my life. Here's what I suggest. Start with a 2-to-1 mix, 2 parts shape coat mix, 1 part sand. If it is too crumbly or stiff to manipulate and stick to itself or the wall, add more shape coat mix. If it could use more sand, add more sand. It should make a pretty loud grating sound while you're mixing it. Give it a test. I apply the sandy bevel with a Japanese tool called yanagiba. It's on the right side. You could use a standard margin trowel. Better yet, get a handy metal worker to grind off the corners of a margin trowel so you get something resembling a yanagiba. It's a great versatile tool. Applying this sandy bevel is no doubt an extra step, but it also means you don't have to return to compress anything time and again, making it a potential time saver. This can be especially handy on precious weekends, and as you've seen, compression isn't always 100% effective. As a laborer, the sandy bevel trick also makes the coming plastering step a little easier and faster, since the desired edge is already created. The technique may be something that you want to utilize only in more visible places, or where being airtight is important. Talk to Rebecca about her insights as to where straw bale builders can make the best use of this technique. Thanks for letting me share. I'll be a migrant plaster worker for the coming year. I'm not the best or the fastest, but I'm really well trained, and I can help increase the skill level of any novice earthen plasterers you may have on your crew while you do other important things. Please keep me in mind. And please check out the Japanese Earthen Plaster Exchange mini flyer. It's an exciting project, and we need your support. I hope you all enjoy a wonderful conference.